There have been lots of questions from people who are close to the age of 45, at that age or even above that age, asking me if there is any hope for them around migrating to Australia permanently. So this video is for you. But first, I must make it very clear, my people. I am not a migration agent, and I feel like more than any other video I have made in the past, this disclaimer needs to be really strong because I don't have any personal experience around what I am about to share with you in this video. I actually wrote up 7 pages of notes. That is to tell you how much I put into bringing you this information. But I must be very frank with you as well, that because there is not that backing of a personal experience or a first-hand experience, it is possible that some of my understanding might be a little off, okay? If there's nothing else you take away from this video, it is the fact that there will be pointers as to where you can start your research. I'm going to leave a lot of links in the description. And if you still want to take it a step further, you can always employ the services of a MARA agent, okay? So I am talking specifically about a migration agent that is well versed in Australian migration law. I am not talking about an education agent. There's a difference between the two. Let me stop rambling at this point and let's get straight into the video. Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Chioma. If this is the first time you're joining me, thank you very much and you're highly welcome. So today I want to address my friends who are close to the age of 45, at that age or above the age of 45. Yes, this video is for you. I am hoping that some of the pathways I am going to mention in this video would work for you. So let's get started. Yes, anyone who has asked me this question in the past, I am certain it would be because they have researched and they have very quickly found out that some of the popular skilled migration options to Australia are age restricted. How dare the Australian government? So I'm talking about the 189, the 190 and also the 491 visas. These are age restricted visas, and there's also the 494 which I am going to mention in this video. Now let me talk about some of the visa pathways that generally speaking can bring you into Australia. Doesn't matter what age you are, but I want you to keep in mind that some of these visa options are temporary, and then I will go on from there to talk about some of the other visa pathways that can lead on from these temporary options into permanent migration. Are we still together? Let's start with the visa subclass 500, which is the student visa. So technically speaking, there is no age limitation on student visas. You can apply for a student visa no matter how old you are. Even though the student visa is an option that anybody can access, I understand that there is that concern about being able to stay back in Australia after your studies, okay? But, you know, there is that option. And also remember that if you finish your studies here in Australia at tertiary level, you can also qualify for the graduate visa, which is the 485 visa, and that visa can let you stay in Australia up to 3 years as of now, especially if you're studying towards a master's degree. If it's a bachelor degree, you can stay up to 2 years on your 485 visa. Now, another thing I also want to mention about the 485 visa is that if you study in a designated regional area, you might actually qualify for a second 485 visa. I found that information today and I was so excited when I saw it. Potentially, if you study towards a master's program, you're looking at 6 years on the 485 visa. However, these are all temporary options. The student visa is a temporary option. The 485 is also a temporary visa, but that's a pathway. The other pathway I want to talk about would be the 494 visa. So this is the skilled employer sponsored regional provisional visa. This on its own is not a permanent residency visa. It's a provisional visa, which means that it has a pathway to permanent residency if you meet extra requirements. And the extra requirements you need to meet here is that you work for the employer that sponsors you, because this is an employer sponsored visa. So you work for that regional employer that has sponsored you into Australia for 3 out of the 5 years that the visa is usually granted for, and then you can apply for permanent residency after that. Now, let me tell you a few things about the 494 visa. The 494 visa is age restricted. You actually have to be not above the age of 45 when you apply. And I know, yes, I know. You might be asking, you said you were going to make a video for people who are close to the age of 45 or people who are at the age of 45 or over 45. Why are you now talking about an age restricted visa? Hold your horses. The 494 visa has 3 streams. So there is the employer sponsored stream. The second stream is where the gist is at, and this is where I want you to pay attention. The labor agreement stream under the 494 visa. So the labor agreement stream again can be granted for 5 years, all right? And then you also have the option to apply for PR after 3 years with the same employer. But this is where it gets sweet. There are age exemptions that may apply under the labor agreement, especially if your employer's labor agreement already comes built in with age exemptions. Now, let me backtrack a little and tell you a little bit more about labor agreements. So a labor agreement is basically a contract between the Australian government and an employer, in this case an approved employer. And this contract basically just speaks to a condition where the employer is saying to the government, listen, I have tried my best to recruit local Australians. I have tried my best to recruit locally for these positions in my industry, and all my efforts have proved unsuccessful. So I want to be able to employ a worker from overseas. I want to be able to sponsor them into Australia so they can fill up these vacancies in my industry. So that's what the labor agreement is basically about. So the Australian government would look at that application and be like, here, approved. You can go on and bring in overseas workers, okay? Now, some of these labor agreements are industry specific. I saw labor agreements that are fishing industry specific, others that are like art industry specific. I'm just giving examples. But there is a particular labor agreement that I want you to pay attention to. It is called DAMA. D-A-M-A. DAMA stands for Designated Area Migration Agreement. I'm just going to leave you with this, but I'm going to talk a little bit more about DAMA down the track. So DAMA is a labor agreement that comes built in with age exemptions, which means that people up to the age of 55, we're not talking about 45, okay? It is possible that your employer can sponsor you even if you're above the age of 45 but less than 55, okay? Let's hold it there. So another condition where age exemptions might apply under the 494 visa would be if your occupation is an eligible profession, okay? And these eligible professions are lecturing. So if you are a lecturer, okay, at an approved level, so you have to be like a senior lecturer or a head of department, a dean, head of school, something like that, right? So if you are a lecturer or a medical practitioner, sometimes age exemptions would apply, which means that even if you're above the age of 45, it doesn't really matter. Going back to some of the other things that you should keep in mind about the 494 visa is that it is linked to regional migration, which means that your employer must bring you in to work in an occupation that is on the regional occupation list. If you're wondering where you can find the list, I have made several videos in the past about the skilled occupation list, okay, but there's going to be a link in the description that will take you to the combined skilled occupation list. Now, combined only because this is where all the different lists that are linked and associated to skilled migration have been combined in that one list. But when you go on that combined list, you're going to find a column on there that says lists. The column will give you information about the particular list that a particular occupation is linked to. So when you see ROL in the list column, it means regional occupation list. And your visa might receive priority processing if your occupation doubles not only on the ROL but also on the PMSOL. So PMSOL stands for Priority Migration Skilled Occupation List, and I'll talk about that in a moment. I don't want to confuse you. The third stream is the subsequent entrant stream. We're not going to dwell so much on that, and I guess that's the reason I forgot it in the first place, because the subsequent entrant stream just speaks to the fact that you can apply for family members to join you after you have come in on that visa. Now, this does not mean that you cannot apply for your family at the same time that you apply for yourself. It just means that if you decide to come in separately, if you decide to come in first and then bring your family in later, the option for them to join you would be through the subsequent entrant stream. Does that make sense? Okay, so we've spoken about the student visa, we've spoken about the 485, and we've spoken about the 494. The other option will be the 482 visa, which is incredibly popular. The 482 visa is the temporary skill shortage visa. And this particular visa is linked to the PMSOL. I told you I would come back to it later. This particular list just speaks to the industries or occupations that have been identified as having critical labor shortages as a result of the COVID pandemic. And so the government has carved out this special list, and they are giving priority processing of the 482 visa for anyone who nominates an occupation on the PMSOL, because they want you to come in quickly and start work. They want you to come in quickly and fill these critical shortages. Okay, so the 482 visa is that visa option that is linked to the PMSOL. Now, there are different occupation categories that are linked to the PMSOL. There are occupations in accounting, occupations in engineering, occupations in the medical practice as well, and then there's social worker. There's also a few trade occupations on there, but like I said, there's always going to be links in the description, so please follow those links so that you can see the exact occupations that are on the PMSOL if you are interested in the 482 visa. So these are some of the things to keep in mind about the 482 visa. It is not linked to state, territory, or regional migration. So unlike the 494 that is linked to a particular region, the 482 does not have such restrictions. You can settle anywhere in Australia as long as you're coming in through employer sponsorship. So again, the 482 visa is dependent on an employer sponsoring you into Australia. And then there are 3 streams under this visa as well. So when you apply for the 482 visa, you might be coming in under the short-term stream, or you might be coming in under the medium-term stream, or the labor agreement stream. The short-term stream just means that your visa will be granted for 2 years. The medium-term stream means that your visa might be granted for up to 4 years, okay, 2 to 4 years. And the labor agreement stream. Now, the reason that I am already smiling regarding the labor agreement stream is because, just as I mentioned when I was talking about the 494 visa's labor agreement stream, it is similar to the 482 visa. Now, the 482 visa is not age restricted. Anybody can apply for it. Doesn't matter what stream of the 482 visa you're looking at. You can apply for it regardless of your age. However, why I am dwelling so much on the labor agreement stream is because that is the stream that potentially offers a pathway to permanent residency down the track. The 482 visa on its own is a temporary visa. On its own, it doesn't automatically ladder into permanent residency. But if you come into work with an employer who is subject to a labor agreement that has some of those age exemptions built into it, then it means that you can also potentially access the 186 visa, which is a permanent residency visa down the track. So the 186 visa is the employer nominated scheme. Your employer who has sponsored you into Australia will then have to nominate you towards permanent residency if you have worked with them for at least 3 years on your 482 visa. And that is why it is so important that you know what labor agreement you're coming under and the conditions of that labor agreement, and whether those age exemptions apply. So I was talking about the DAMA. The DAMA is one labor agreement that increases the age bracket to 55 years. Now, this video has gone on longer than I wanted it to go on for, and so I am going to stop it here. But I will come back with a second video where I talk to you about the DAMA arrangement and why it is important for you. So in that video, I am going to specifically give you information about the DAMA regions here in Australia, okay? So there are 12 DAMAs. I want you to keep that in mind. First of all, I'm not going to reveal any more information apart from that. But in my next video, I will tell you these 12 DAMAs, okay? So that it will ease your search and get you started on where to actually look and how to actually tailor your research. So before you click out of this video, make sure you do what you're supposed to do, which is to hit the like button and to subscribe if you stayed with me up to this point. It tells me that you enjoyed hanging out with me, okay? So just do the needful, join the family. You're highly welcome, and I'll see you again in my next video. Bye bye.